I remember when you were released. I remember when you were released. I don't remember this one though. Probably a good thing. Well folks, tomorrow is the big day. Tekken 7 is finally being released and marks the end of the Mishima Saga. Folks, I have been a huge fan of Tekken since I was 7 years old, and I'm not really good at these games per se, but I don't really care. I'm super excited for this game, and I know that it's going to be awesome. The one thing that I've completely overlooked from this series is this series' story. It's a story about a father and a son that really hate each other, and the only way they can work it out is through their fists. I mean, it sounds simple enough, right? It's just a revenge story. Well, it gets more complicated than that, at least once we get to Tekken 4. To get us ready for Tekken 7, I summed up the story of the first 6 games. Now, I could talk about some of their technical aspects of the gameplay and such, but that stuff is pretty self-explanatory and it's kind of beyond my caliber. The spin-off games do not count for this storyline. Yes, that means Tekken Tag Tournament and Death by Degrees. Alright, I think we get it. I hate Death by Degrees, alright? We'll get to that some other time. But for right now, let's talk about the Tekken storyline.
It all started with the King of Iron Fist tournament. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Anyways, a worldwide martial arts tournament is being held with a prize pool of $1 billion to whoever can defeat Heihachi Mishima, the heir to the Mishima Zaibatsu, a multi-billion-dollar financial corporation with which the tournament is sponsored by. The tournament itself is nearing its end with only 8 fighters left present, each with their own motives set to claiming the title King of Iron Fist. One of them being Heihachi's son, Kazuya Mishima, who is set on revenge. These two share a dark history of jealousy and hatred. The Mishima Corporation was founded by Heihachi's father, Jinpachi Mishima. As Heihachi grew older, he met a woman named Kazumi, with which the two of them gave birth to Kazuya. Jinpachi would go on to train Kazuya to become a martial arts master. However, the kindness he had shown to his grandson would make Heihachi grow jealous of his teachings. Heihachi would go on to stage a coup d'etat against his father and the corporation, locking Jinpachi under the temple of Hanmaru and making him starve to death. Now with the Mishima Zaibatsu under his wing, Heihachi turns the corporation towards the military industry and trains Kazuya under his ideals. Disappointed in his son for being too weak, he throws him off the edge of a cliff and hopes that he may survive the fall and climb back up. Hang on just a second, I gotta process this.
So all of this is happening because of a father-son complex. Well, let's just throw him off the cliff. It's not like he's gonna have revenge or anything.
Kazuya somehow survives the fall from an unknown force and emerges with a huge scar on his chest. Now back to the present time, Kazuya makes it to the final round to finally face his father. Together they fought, bone upon bone breaking. Their fists clashed, but Kazuya remained victorious. So, as payback to what his father had done to him, he throws him off the same cliff that Heihachi had thrown him off, and thus, he was a happy man that day.
And the nightmare fuel overfills my tank. Thanks, Namco!
Our story continues where Kazuya, now head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, leads the company down a road of corruption, making it more ruthless and evil than ever. Kazuya would hire assassins to kill off innocent people, steal money from other organizations, and steal endangered animals for the sake of experimentation and practicing genetic alterations. Oh, so that's where Alex and Roger come in. Okay, that makes sense. Meanwhile, Heihachi emerges from the cliff with which he was thrown from, having survived thanks to his strong endurance, and after hearing of what his son has been doing to the company, quietly trains himself, meditating in order to regain his fighting spirit. Once again, the King of Iron Fist tournament is announced from the Mishima Corporation, with a prize pool 1,000 times more than the first. Heihachi, along with other contestants from the previous tournament, as well as some new, enter in the hopes of gaining the said title, while Heihachi sets to defeat his son and regain the corporation.
Ah, see, now I love this. The bad guy becomes the good guy, and the good guy from the previous game becomes the bad guy. You know, that is how you continue a story.
Heihachi succeeds in defeating his son, who manifested his power with the devil within him. This time, he proceeds to throw Kazuya off a helicopter and into a volcano instead. There's a little more to Heihachi's victory, however. Kazuya may have sold himself to the devil over the course of his corruption, but he found a bit of goodness in his heart, which was strengthened through his relationship with a woman named Jun Kazama. Her determination to save Kazuya from the Devil Gene does play a huge part to the story. However, the struggle between light and dark within Kazuya's being gave Heihachi the upper hand to winning the King of Iron Fist tournament. But what of the Devil? Well, unfortunately, he got away. Somewhat unknown, other than the fact that she had a very calming nature to her, which helped suppress the Devil Gene. She's also somewhat of a Snow White when it comes to being around animals. Over the course of their relationship, she bore a son, and Kazuya, being the asshole he is, left her. Her son's name? Jin Kazama. "16 years have passed since the second King of Iron Fist tournament. Heihachi Mishima has formed the Tekken Force, an organization dedicated to protecting the Mishima Zaibatsu. Through his influence, Heihachi has set about world peace. While on an excavation searching an ancient temple in Mexico, one of the Tekken squads is obliterated from a being called Ogre, a god of fighting.
More like the god of liars, am I right?
Ogre goes on to defeat other world-renowned fighters from around the world, absorbing their abilities and using them as his own. One such fighter was Jun Kazama, who after the second Iron Fist tournament fled to a faraway place to raise her newborn son. After getting knocked out trying to protect her, Jin, now 15 years old, seeks guidance from Heihachi, seeking revenge on his mother's killer. Learning this, Heihachi believes that harnessing Ogre's abilities can bring immense power to the Mishima Empire, and thus trains Jin in the Mishima style. By the age of 19, Jin was ready to seek the satisfaction of avenging his mother, and thus, the third King of Iron Fist tournament is announced, with Heihachi's intention of using Jin as a lure to draw Ogre out into the open. Ogre is not defeated by Jin, but rather, Paul Phoenix becomes the victor. However, thinking that he had defeated the fighting god, leaves the tournament, and thus loses by default. Ogre transforms into what is True Ogre and is left in Jin's hands. After defeating True Ogre, Jin is shot by Tekken forces, completely betrayed by his grandfather, who no longer has need of him, and is shot in the head. However, within Jin, much like his father Kazuya, lies the Devil Gene that revives him, thus leaving destruction in his path, and Heihachi bamboozled again.
Never trust an old man with a mustache. Well, we've scratched the surface with the first 3 games, so that was easy stuff. The 4th game, however, things get a little wild.
2 years later, Heihachi gathers samples from Ogre's remains, hoping to create new life through experimentation by splicing Ogre's genomes with his own. However, one thing was missing to complete this perfect being: the Devil Gene. And there's only one guy who can fit the piece of the puzzle: Jin Kazama. Heihachi searched far and wide for him, but along his searches, he found a photograph of a burnt corpse, which from the back appeared wing-like limbs. He was convinced it was his son, Kazuya, whom he threw into the volcano 20 years ago. This led him to the G Corporation, a biotech research facility who supposedly was keeping Kazuya's body to analyze and extract his data in order to make a new life form. A unit led by Heihachi infiltrated one of these facilities where Kazuya was being held, but was unsuccessful. His forces were obliterated by an unknown figure, which, looking closely, was in fact his son, whom he'd been searching for. Kazuya was granted a rebirth from the G Corporation and offered his body to the scientists so that he could unify himself with the Devil Gene and dissolve the split personality that's ruining him. Heihachi forms the 4th King of Iron Fist tournament. Knowing it's a trap, Kazuya wishes nothing more than to defeat his father and reclaim what was once his. Upon the 7th round, Jin, who was trained for 2 years to put an end to the Mishima bloodline, was captured and sent to Hanmaru, where Kazuya was scheduled to fight, but won by default. After defeating Heihachi, Kazuya is promised to meet his son. Both fought with the devil within, but Kazuya finally gains control of the power, his sole intention to rip the devil out of Jin and make it his own. However, Jin almost ends up killing him. He also defeats his grandfather, but instead of killing him, sees visions of his mother, thus sparing his life, and flies off. Left behind, Kazuya and Heihachi fend for themselves as an onslaught of gunjack units attack them. Heihachi figures this is Kazuya's doing from the start, but alas, he has nothing to do with it. However, Kazuya decides to haul ass and leave his father to die. Jin sets out to seek who made the Devil Gene possible, while Kazuya tries to find out who tried to kill him at Hanmaru. A fifth tournament is announced, and to their surprise, is led by none other than Jinpachi Mishima, Heihachi Mishima's father and the founder of the Mishima Zaibatsu. Jinpachi, though presumed dead from starvation, was somehow resurrected by a spiritual entity. He put together the tournament in hopes that someone will lift the curse from him. Jin defeats his great-grandfather and thus becomes head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, whereas Kazuya, on the other hand, has a moment with his grandfather, and it's all sweet and everything, but then he just flat out kills him. There are two kinds of people.
I am not too happy about this next part. That's all I have to say.
Now head of the Mishima Zaibatsu. Okay, how many times have I said that now? Anyway, Jin starts to get a little power hungry by using his company's resources to become a global superpower, thus ending the Zaibatsu's global ties. Hold on a minute. Let me start that again. Corporate's global ties. There we go. Now I don't have to go with Zaibatsu. And declares war against all nations. What? Kazuya, on the other hand, now leader of the G Corporation, wants to get rid of Jin himself so that he too can get in on some of that bread. So he puts a bounty on Jin for anyone who can capture him. So what's Jin's response? Can you take a good guess? One of the members of the Tekken force, Lars Alexanderson, starts a rebellion to put a stop to both factions. Lars gains amnesia from an attack by the G Corporation and is set on his journey to uncover his past. Meanwhile, Jin learns about Lars' little rebellion, and along with Nina Williams and Eddie Gordo, sets out to find him. Along the journey, Lars gets some of his memories back, knowing that he's the illegitimate son of Heihachi Mishima. He finds he has lived in solitude, training himself and plotting to take back the Zaibatsu. Again.
This is real. This is canon.
Heihachi proposes to work together to beat Jin. Lars, on the other hand, isn't one to pick sides and declines. Lars meets up with Raven, who helps lead him to Jin, where they travel to an abandoned temple, home to the demon Azazel, and run into Kazuya, who's pissed at learning that Lars is his half-brother. After beating Kazuya, Raven and Lars are confronted by Azazel, who tells them that he's just a creation of mankind, and it's time to rectify the world.
Wait. So, Kazuya is just there for the sake of being there. He's not gonna do anything. He's just gonna walk away and like nothing happened.
Lars runs into Jin and he explains the only way to beat Azazel is with the power of the devil gene, so yeah, he's not dead. Not only that, but Jin explains to Lars his true intentions for everything that's going on. The only way to awaken Azazel was to force the world to have negative emotions, which he feeds off of. And the best way to do it? Starting a war?
Alright, I don't know any other way to express this, but everything that I just told you, everything of this part of the storyline is literally hot garbage coming out of my mouth. I swear, Lars is pretty much like the side chick of the Tekken series. And you know what's even worse? He's gonna be in Tekken 7! And since he's the illegitimate son of Heihachi...
So Jin never appreciated how the world is lived under by corrupt governments and organizations, so by starting the war, they'd all pretty much crumble into nothingness, and the world would finally find peace. Also, he was hoping when he's done with Azazel, the devil gene will reside and he'll finally be free. So Jin beats Azazel, and lo and behold, he's still got the mark.
I absolutely despise Tekken 6's story. I really do.
So here's the best way to describe the entire Mishima bloodline. Heihachi, I'm an asshole. Kazuya, hold my beer, Dad. You ain't seen nothing yet. Jinpachi, I just want to have eternal rest. Jin, guys, I can fix this. I think the story was good at least until Tekken 5. I mean, 5 never had much to it, and I understand because most of the story lies with the devil within story arc, which explains Jin's past, but for this video, I had to at least get the important stuff, or at least the stuff that goes with the timeline. However, Tekken 6 is probably the biggest mess when it comes to the story and being a part of this timeline, at least in my opinion. I get it, 6 has a full fleshed out story compared to the rest of them, which would require reading the manual or playing through cutscenes, before the internet and Tekken fandom explain stuff. I commend them for that. Now I partially see why people hate 6, but only partially. Tekken 1 through 5 are a little hard to get through because the story is so vast. but when you look at it, it does make a lot of sense. At least 1 through 3. 4, you gotta think a bit, but it's still interesting enough. 6 makes the story a little more wonky than it already is. By golly, I just think it's kinda stupid. So, here's hoping 7 is as epic as it looks because it sounds awesome.
All I gotta say is thank God for Valkyrie Aurora for summing up the story to Tekken 6 like she did, because it was very helpful, and researching for this part of the story was not fun. Most likely I will be explaining it, probably in another video, or if I ever get the chance to do a full-fledged Tekken 7 review. Now, the only problem with that is I am kind of afraid of Bandai Namco possibly, I don't know, flagging my videos or something, or taking them down for posting spoilers. But other than that, I am super excited for Tekken 7, and you can bet your bottom that I will be streaming it this weekend when it comes around the corner. So I am super excited to play through the story mode with you guys. I would like to announce, folks, that I will have another Kaz's Backlog uploaded next week, because I am also working on that after this video. I have been very inspired lately, so I'm constantly writing and trying to come up with new fun ideas and just better content in general. So thank you all very much for your patience, and I will see you on the next Kaz's Backlog.